It seems like in some ways the world has become a bit more irrational. We've kind of trained ourselves to be robots, and now we're training the robots. There seems to be something about the brain which almost philosophically seems like non-understandable. I think we should have a sort of a long, rambling, provocative discussion, and to kick that off, shock us with your wildest prediction for the future.
My wildest prediction, I think that neurotechnology is going to really impact our daily lives today and in the future in ways we cannot even imagine. We've been using machine learning for years because there is no way we can, as humans, decode this brain without help of these kind of tools, right? So I think that with the eruption of AI, we're also opening a new window into really modeling the brain in ways that it hasn't been possible.
By 2030, we will have more AI agents than people in this world. I think that AI can actually make our systems less biased.
My wildest prediction is that AI won't be the big scary thing that we think it's going to be. We did a terrible job at vocationally training the people that used to do the work to be the people that can maintain and sustain the robotics. And I think part of it was there was an internal bias that said, oh, these are people without skills and training. They won't be able to do it, right? Which the truth is, they can, right? Nobody ever asked them to do it. So I think there's a way that technology helps us release creativity in everybody, no matter what their job.
My wildest prediction is that the world of work already feels broken, and I think it's going to get significantly worse before it gets better. There's a growing sense that we're not all in it together, that the boss is different to us. The boss is earning 5,000 times, in Google's case, I think 10,000 times more than the average employee. And so the CEO pay gap is actually a good illustration of how work is breaking.
My wild one is we get rid of the fetish around productivity. We've got this opportunity to reframe how we think about work and society and the impact we want to have. But if we're taking the old ideals and using new technology for it, I think we're just gonna ruin it.
My wildest prediction is that by 2035, the passport, as we know, will be obsolete. We are in the biggest talent shortage in human history. So all countries are trying to figure out how to get in skilled people. At the same time, the most highly educated immigrants or migrants are actually from the countries with worst passports, meaning like least travel-friendly passports.
We will listen less before we begin to listen more. I think that there is a sense that you need to be part of a certain way of thinking, and that if you're not, you're on the outside. I think there's a worry about things politically and economically. The awful wars that are going on in the world have led people to take very sort of particular positions that, if you think a little bit differently, can be incredibly hard to acknowledge. This idea of tolerating difference is, I think, catastrophically frightening for people.
Brexit, other than our invasion of Iraq, Brexit is probably the second greatest self-inflicted wound in the history since World War II. It's like, how do we make everything more expensive, but become more productive and raise prices? I mean, how do we slow growth and raise prices? It was literally the most elegant way to totally fuck themselves I could have ever imagined. The biggest threat to the U.S. is going to be domestic terrorism from men and women in uniform who are weaponized by AI girlfriends.
My wildest prediction is that Americans will be voting on their smartphones in the next 8 years, I think, is that we're looking for a hero or a villain or a person to save us or a person to change everything. And what's required is changing the underlying system and the incentives. And without that structural change, I think we're going to be disappointed.
My wildest prediction is that the next Microsoft will be started by a 17-year-old girl. There's a historical gap to be addressed where every country legally discriminates against women. Every country, including the United States, all of the wealthy countries.
The Sunday roast will not be animal roast, but will be a planted roast. The problem is not animal husbandry per se. The problem is the scale of animal husbandry, right? So the industrial part of animal husbandry, so the factory farms and so on. And if we think of how do we want to sustainably and nourish like these 10 billion people, if we continue like eating so much animal protein per capita, and if it keeps growing with welfare, this is not going to work out.
Nature is coming back into cities whether we like it or not. Whether it comes back as a pandemic or it comes back as an infestation of rats or it comes back as something else is, I think, the choice that we have to make. And by reintegrating nature into the city in a way that's intelligent, we're actually doing something that's very good for ourselves and for the planet. By 2080, that's 55 years away, there will be more than 10 billion human beings, that's us lot, and almost 90% of us will be living in cities and in urban areas.
One of my wildest predictions, a lot of my predictions are pretty wild, is that a certain percentage of the population will adopt some form of nomadism. We agonize about poverty, but a large amount of poverty is created effectively by the high cost of accommodation. And the question to ask is not why are people poor, it's why hasn't everybody got a hot tub?
If a prediction has to be wild, I would say that I envisage the first commercial flight with passengers in a hydrogen-powered airplane by 2035. I think it's criminal to tell to young people there is no future. We have to tell that there are existing solutions that have to be implemented. There are a lot of things that we can do. There are new jobs that need to be created.
I think we should own up to that uncertainty. And one of the real problems, I think, politicians or any leader expressing with huge confidence about what's going to happen. What? Why? How do they know? And actually, it's something I think seems very alien to political thinking, to have that humility to admit that they don't know how things are going to work out. My wildest prediction is that people will stop making predictions.